Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Native English Podcast, brought to you by Native English Stories. I'm Sarah.
And I'm John. I am so genuinely happy that you're hanging out with us today. Welcome back.
John, can I be completely honest with you about something?
Always. Please go ahead.
So many English learners out there are quietly terrified of two very tiny, very innocent little words.
Let me guess. Would those words happen to be in and at?
Yes, exactly those two. Small words, but a massive headache for so many people.
It's funny because they look so harmless just sitting there on the page, don't they?
Right? People look at them and think, surely these can't be the problem, and then they try to use them, and suddenly everything feels confusing.
I hear this all the time, actually. Most learners say things like, I understand English, I can read it, and I can follow conversations, but these tiny words still trip me up.
And that feeling of being tripped up by something so small is genuinely frustrating. It makes people feel like they're missing something fundamental that everyone else somehow already knows.
But here's the good news. That feeling is completely normal. Today, we're going to make in and at feel friendly, calm, simple, and honestly, even a little fun.
Yes, no grammar pressure today. No complicated charts or boring rules. Just real-life English, the way people actually use it every single day.
Sarah, when learners mix up in and at in a real conversation, do people still understand what they're trying to say?
Almost always, yes. The meaning usually comes through just fine.
So it's not a disaster. Nobody's going to be seriously confused.
Exactly. But here's why it still matters. When learners feel unsure about these words, their confidence takes a hit. They hesitate before speaking or second-guess themselves mid-sentence. That hesitation is what really interrupts the flow of the conversation.
So we're talking about this not because getting it wrong is a danger, but because getting it right feels so much better. It removes that little moment of doubt.
Perfectly said. Okay, John, let's start as simply as possible. Where are you right now, in this very moment?
I am at the studio.
Good. And where specifically are you within the studio?
I am in the recording room.
Haha, same general place, two different words, and both are completely correct. Listeners, please don't panic because we're going to explain this slowly and clearly.
So here is the basic idea to hold on to. At is for a point, a specific location, or a named place. In is for being inside something, inside a space or an area.
Let me give you a really easy everyday example. If I say, I am at the coffee shop, you aren't necessarily focusing on being inside the building. You're simply there, at that location, at that spot.
But then if you say, I'm in the coffee shop, now we understand that you've physically walked through the door and you're inside the building.
Yes, and here is another one. I am at the bus stop. You are standing there waiting. You aren't enclosed inside anything. You are just at that point.
But once the bus arrives and you climb on board, it becomes I'm in the bus, because now you're actually inside something physical.
Exactly right. See, not scary at all when you look at it through real-life situations rather than abstract grammar rules.
Sarah, I think one thing that really helps is talking about time as well, because learners often get confused about when to use in and at with time expressions too.
Oh, absolutely. And time is something we talk about every single day, so let us go there. I wake up at 7 in the morning.
So at is for the specific clock time, the exact point on the clock.
And in is for the broader part of the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Those are larger chunks of time, not specific points.
At 7 o'clock, in the morning. At midnight, in the evening. Once you see the pattern, it starts to feel quite logical.
It really does. And you know what, John? Tell me your most memorable mistake with these two words, because I know you have one.
Oh yes, I absolutely do. So when I was still getting to grips with this, I once said to someone, I'm in the bus stop.
In the bus stop. Like you were physically enclosed inside the bus stop structure.
Yes, like I had somehow gotten trapped inside the little shelter. The person I said it to looked momentarily confused and then smiled very kindly.
That is so relatable, though. And that kind of memorable little mistake is actually really valuable because you never made it again after that, did you?
Never once. It's burned into my memory forever. Mistakes really are some of the best teachers we have.
That is genuinely true. And I think it's so important to say this clearly to everyone listening. Mistakes are a completely normal and necessary part of learning any language. They aren't signs of failure, they're signs that you're actively trying.
Exactly. Every single fluent English speaker made those same kinds of small errors at some point along the way. The difference is they kept going anyway.
Okay, let's talk about places that people go to every day, because I think this is where in and at really show up the most in normal conversation.
Great idea. Let's go through a few common ones.
School. I'm at school. That tells us your general location for the day.
But I'm in the classroom tells us exactly where inside the school building you're sitting right now.
Office and work. I'm at work. That's the broad location. That's where you are for the day.
But I'm in a meeting tells us you're inside a specific situation or activity right now. Do not disturb.
Yes, we all know that one. And notice something interesting here. In is not only used for physical spaces, it's also used for situations and states.
Oh, this is a really good point. Like, I'm in trouble. You're not inside a physical room called trouble, you're inside a situation.
Or, I'm in a hurry. That's an emotional and situational state. You're inside the feeling of rushing.
I'm in love. That one is perhaps the nicest one. You're inside the experience of love.
Yes, that one is much more pleasant than being in trouble. So, in carries this sense of being surrounded by or immersed in something, whether that something is a physical space or an experience or an emotion.
That's a beautiful way to think about it, actually. In feels deeper somehow. It feels like you're properly inside something rather than just passing by or arriving at a point.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about addresses and locations because this comes up constantly in everyday life, especially now that so many people are connecting with others online from all over the world.
Right. If someone asks where you live, you might say, I live at 14 Maple Avenue. That's the very specific address, the exact point.
But then you'd say, I live in Manchester. That's the city, a much larger area.
And I live in England, even larger, the country.
So English thinks in terms of size. The more specific and pointed the location, the more likely you are to use at. The larger and more general the area, the more you use in.
Like zoom levels on a map, you zoom all the way in for at and you zoom out for in.
Oh, I love that. That is such a helpful visual for anyone who thinks spatially. The map zoom analogy is genuinely useful.
Sarah, let me tell you about my day yesterday using in and at, and listeners can follow along and notice how it sounds natural.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, so I woke up at 6:30 in the morning. I stayed in bed for about 10 extra minutes just enjoying the quiet. Then I made coffee and sat in my kitchen for a while. Later, I was at my desk by 8 o'clock working on some things. In the afternoon, I went out and I was at the supermarket for about half an hour. And in the evening, I just relaxed at home.
Did you notice that, listeners? How naturally in and at flowed through that description? Nothing felt forced or mechanical. It just sounded like a real person talking about a real day.
And that is the goal, not perfect clinical grammar, just natural, comfortable communication that people can follow easily.
John, learners sometimes ask me, what do I do if I am speaking and I suddenly cannot remember which one to use? Like the word just disappears from my brain mid-sentence.
Yes, the dreaded blank moment.
What do you tell them?
I tell them to keep speaking. Seriously, just pick one and continue, because here's the truth. If your meaning is clear, if the person you are talking to understands your intention, you have communicated successfully. That's what language is for.
Communication always comes first. Grammar refinement comes with time and practice. You cannot build confidence by staying silent every time you feel uncertain.
Exactly. And something I personally find really helpful is practicing with daily life narration. Like you just talk yourself through your own day quietly. I'm in the kitchen now. I'm at the sink. I'm putting my cup in the cupboard.
Oh, that is such a smart, low-pressure way to practice. Nobody's judging you, nobody's listening. You're just getting your brain comfortable with the patterns through repetition.
And your phone or laptop is always there. Whenever you read something in English online, which most of us are doing constantly now, just notice the in and at choices. You'll start to see the patterns everywhere.
It's a bit like when you learn a new word and then suddenly you see it appearing everywhere you look. Your brain was filtering it out before, but now that you know it, you notice it constantly.
Yes, your brain starts collecting evidence of the pattern, and the more it collects, the more natural it all starts to feel.
Let's do one more thing before we start wrapping up. Let me tell a short story, and listeners, just notice how in and at work together to paint a clear picture.
I love this idea. Go ahead.
Okay, so yesterday I was at a little cafe near my house. You know, one of those places with the big windows and the good playlists. I sat in a corner seat by the window. I had my laptop in my bag, but I didn't take it out. I was just in the mood to sit quietly and watch the street outside. I had been at that cafe before, but somehow it felt different yesterday. Maybe because I was in a really calm and peaceful headspace. I stayed for about an hour and then walked home.
Wow, that was genuinely lovely. And did you notice, listeners, how every single in and at in that little story helped you see the scene more clearly? The cafe, the corner, the mood, the bag, each one placed Sarah more precisely inside the moment.
That's exactly what these little words do. They're like small visual guides for the person listening to you. They help the listener build a mental picture of where you are and what surrounds you.
Without them, the description would feel blurry and vague. With them, everything becomes clear and real.
John, what would you say to a learner who is listening right now and still feels a little bit nervous about all of this?
I would say this. You are already doing something really brave just by listening and engaging with English content. That takes real commitment.
It truly does.
And I'd just like to say that in and at aren't your enemies. They aren't tests designed to catch you making a mistake. They're just small, friendly tools that help you express your life more clearly. Your mornings, your work, your home, and even your weekend plans.
I really love that framing. They're tools for expressing your life, not obstacles standing between you and fluency.
And fluency, by the way, isn't about being perfect. It's not about never hesitating or never picking the wrong word. Fluency is about being understood. It's about connection and being able to share your thoughts and experiences with another human being.
You can absolutely do that even while your English is still developing, even if you make the occasional mistake or need a moment to pause and think.
Every sentence you speak builds something. Every attempt teaches you something new. Every small moment of using English in real life, whether it goes smoothly or feels a bit bumpy, adds to your foundation.
And that foundation builds quietly over time. You don't always notice it happening day to day, but then one morning you wake up and something feels different. English feels a little lighter and a little less heavy in your chest.
That's the moment when you stop translating everything in your head and you just speak, even if it's simple and even if it's just a few words. That moment is everything.
It really is. I remember that feeling, and it's honestly one of the best parts of any language learning journey.
So keep going, everyone. Speak slowly if you need to. Think things through. Use in, use at, and make your mistakes. Just learn from them warmly without being hard on yourself.
English isn't a race to a finish line. It's a long, enjoyable journey, and every single step counts, especially those small, quiet steps that nobody else sees.
Especially those ones.
Friends, thank you so much for spending this time with us today on the Native English Podcast, brought to you by Native English Stories. If this episode helped you feel even a little more comfortable with in and at, then we've done our job.
And here's a small challenge for you. Check out the pinned comment below. We want you to write just one sentence in the comments using in or at. It could be about your day, your home, your city, anything at all. We genuinely read every single comment.
We really do. Seeing your sentences honestly makes our whole day.
Keep practicing and keep believing in yourself. English is already somewhere inside you. You're just gently letting it out.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.